Just a few days back, a new documentary about Diddy was released on Netflix. Hilariously, the documentary was produced by 50 Cent of all people. In the documentary, we got a closer look at Diddy's demeanor in his final days before his subsequent arrest. Netflix somehow acquired never-before-seen footage of Diddy. It appears Diddy was filming a potential documentary in the days leading up to his arrest, but after his arrest, he scrapped the project. Because of this, the videographers ended up not getting paid, and eventually it seems they sold the footage to Netflix, which they used for this documentary. In this unseen footage, we see Diddy's last days in the free world, and provided a glance at what a giant looks like when the walls are closing in. Another thing the documentary did a decent job at was showing how Diddy used and abused everyone he came in contact with since the very beginning. From his artists like Biggie and Craig Mack to his enemies like Tupac and Suge Knight, and even his lovers like Cassie and Kim Porter. Diddy abused them all. This documentary shows why Diddy is truly a monster, with those who spoke in his documentary confirming many of the allegations made against Diddy. Hey guys, I hope all is well. Welcome back to The Truth Is, where I drop new videos exposing the truth weekly. In today's episode, we will be talking about the most important details from the Diddy documentary. But before we begin, I just wanted to let my Patreon members know that I will be releasing a new Patreon exclusive on famous spiritual leaders who are really fraud occultists in disguise. If you're one of my members, you don't want to miss this one. The link to my Patreon is in the description. I want to thank you all. Now, let's get right into it. There was a lot of revealing information in this new Diddy documentary. The first thing I instantly noticed was this interesting looking chain Diddy was wearing at the beginning of the documentary. The pendant was shaped like a triangle with a strange design in the middle of it. The symbol is actually called the triquetra, and in the occult world, it is used as a protection amulet. I don't think there's even a need to say what this chain also represents. We already know Diddy is a member of the club. I do find it interesting that they opened this documentary with that footage, showing Diddy squeezing on the chain like he truly felt it was protecting him. This shows how deeply Diddy was involved in the mystical, proving my point that I have been making since 2021, that a lot of the evil Diddy does is rooted in the spiritual world. There is something truly evil powering Diddy's actions. Another part of the interview that I found important was the charity basketball game Diddy hosted that ended in tragedy. Diddy cost the lives of his fans over 20 years before Travis would. The documentary implied that Diddy set up this charity basketball game and overhyped it. This led to the event going over capacity and causing crowding issues. With the lack of staff and the surge of people coming in, the event ended in several people losing their lives, being crushed by mobs of people. In the documentary, they demonstrated how Diddy refused to take any accountability, refusing to acknowledge that he was at fault for 9 people losing their lives at an event he hosted and planned. Something that really stuck with me was the fact that when Diddy went to create Bad Boy Records, he decided to put the company under his mother's and his best friend's names. He did this to protect his assets just in case the families of the victims who lost their lives would attempt to sue him. This showed that Diddy genuinely didn't care about the 9 people who lost their lives at an event he set up. He was responsible for keeping the event at capacity. He was also responsible for having the right amount of security and staff. But his desire was to host the grandest event that would make him look like a big star, but ended in disaster and tragedy. Diddy refused to acknowledge his role in the tragedy and took the necessary steps to protect the only thing he ever cared about, his reputation and his money. This truly showed how since day one, since before Diddy was a hip-hop mogul, he was already the monster he is today. Something that the documentary demonstrated again when they showed footage of Diddy interacting with his fans. During a part of the documentary, they showed Diddy in the streets interacting with some of his fans. Diddy appears to be all cheery and happy when he talks to his fans and stops to take pictures with many of them. But when he was done interacting with them and got back in his car, he started making comments on how dirty he was from mingling with the people, literally saying he was gonna have to take a bath in boiling water and peroxide. Diddy was showing that he saw his fans like peasants, reinforcing that he uses everyone he comes in contact with, even his fans. He uses his fans to make money and to feel like a god, but deep down, he's disgusted by them and feels dirty after interacting with them. His love for the fans is all fake. It's just a part of Diddy's manipulation. The next important part of the documentary was the segment about Tupac. Last year, the world discovered that Keffe D was finally arrested for the death of rapper Tupac. For years now, Keffe D had openly admitted to being a part of the situation that led up to his death. A death that not only Keffe blamed on Diddy, but also others involved in the situation. In the documentary, They played a police recording of Keffe D being interrogated where he confirms Diddy put $1 million bounty on Tupac and Suge Knight's head. Keffe claims that after Tupac and his crew jumped Orlando Anderson at the Mike Tyson boxing match, Keffe linked up with Anderson and their crew and went looking for Tupac in the area. When they found him, they ambushed Tupac and took him out, hoping to collect the reward Diddy had put on their heads. The next day, Keffe claims he sent word to Diddy, who asked him if Tupac's death was at their hands, which they confirmed. The detective in the documentary even confirms Diddy made a $500,000 payment to a middleman who was supposed to redirect the money to Keffe D and his crew, but the middleman kept the money instead. The documentary seems to confirm the rumors that Diddy paid for the hit on Tupac, which means he is the reason Tupac is gone. In the documentary, they made it clear that P. Diddy was always envious of Tupac. Tupac was the star that Diddy wanted to be, so Diddy became obsessed with ending him and taking his place. There was a part of the documentary where they showed just how much Diddy hated Tupac, as one of the male escorts who was paid to participate in the freak-offs for 8 years recalled the day when he was at a freak-off with Cassie and a Tupac song happened to start playing. The man claims Diddy instantly was triggered and told Cassie to take his music off. The man also confirmed that he had only ever seen that reaction from Diddy when that Tupac song came on. This indicates two things. Either Diddy still felt hatred and envy for Tupac, or he felt guilty for being the man responsible for his death. Maybe even a mixture of both. This documentary makes it pretty clear that Diddy was the one responsible for what happened to Tupac, something that all these years later Diddy never paid the price for, just like he never paid the price for the club shooting incident with J-Lo. Now, I have spoken about this several times before, so I would make it brief. In the documentary, they show exactly how Diddy set up Shine to take the fall, which again shows us how he uses and abuses everyone he comes in contact with. The documentary reveals that Shine's lawyers were in fact Diddy's lawyers, with Diddy hiring them not to defend Shine, but to set Shine up to make sure he wouldn't go down for it. The lawyers purposely tricked Shine into admitting he shot the weapon, convincing him to go with a self-defense claim. The only thing is, if you know anything about New York, then you know there is no such thing as self-defense when it comes to firearms in New York. Firearms are strictly prohibited in New York City, unless you have a weapons permit, which is extremely difficult to acquire. You can't use a firearm at all. By Shine's lawyers telling him to go with self-defense, he admitted to having a weapon and discharging it. They did this so they can pin all the blame on him and paint Diddy as an innocent bystander. As if he admits that he used the weapon, he's taking fault for the entire thing. While Shine thought he was holding Diddy down and he had a plan to get them out of the situation, in reality, Diddy only had a plan to get himself out of it by sacrificing Shine. Again, showing how Diddy uses and abuses everyone he comes in contact with. Diddy committed the crime, and then those close to him paid the consequence. He never paid the price for that club shooting, just like he never paid the price for what it seems he did to Biggie. In the documentary, they seem to suggest that Diddy wasn't only behind Tupac's death, but also behind Biggie's. Those being interviewed claim that although Diddy pretended he was close friends with Biggie, he never truly was. Instead, he was actually jealous of Biggie because he was the star and was talented. Diddy always wanted to be the star. He always wanted to be praised. So he didn't like that Biggie was getting all the attention that he desperately wanted. This was clearly depicted in the documentary when they claimed Diddy heard Biggie was chosen to be on the cover of the Rolling Stone magazine. So he stole the cover from Biggie and had them feature him instead. Parts of the documentary seem to suggest that Diddy also set Biggie up to die on the trip to Cali. Biggie met his demise after he went to Cali after the death of Tupac. Nobody ever understood why Biggie would even dare go to Cali after Pac's death, as they had been beefing right up to his death. Many people felt that Biggie and Diddy set Tupac up in that quad studio situation. So when Tupac was killed, fans of Tupac naturally hated both Biggie and Diddy, especially on the West Coast where Tupac was based. So Biggie deciding to go to Cali after Pac's death was a death wish. But for some reason, Biggie still chose to go to Cali and never returned home. After he died, people asked Diddy why he allowed Biggie to go to Cali. Diddy always denied any responsibility and claimed that he was just following Biggie's lead, insinuating Biggie was the one who wanted to go to Cali, not him. Those in the documentary debunked this though, recalling that it was all Diddy's plan to take Biggie to Cali, despite all the warnings that they wanted his head out there. Biggie even refused to go at first, but Diddy was persistent, convincing him to go to Cali, and while they were there, he even canceled his appearances he had outside of Cali to make sure Biggie stood out there longer. On top of this, in the documentary, a former employee of Bad Boy claimed Diddy tried to scam Biggie's legacy after his death. The former Bad Boy employee claimed that Biggie had just re-signed with Bad Boy right before his death, but after he died, Diddy needed his estate to sign the deal since they now represented him. So Diddy tried hiding new terms that favored Bad Boy in the contract by switching out pages of the original contract with new pages that Biggie had never agreed with. When the employer refused to scam Biggie's family, Diddy shortly fired him and possibly did it anyways. So not only does this documentary suggest Diddy was responsible for Biggie losing his life, but on top of that, they accuse him of trying to steal his money after his death. But the most shameful thing Diddy did was milk Biggie's death, dropping songs and launching his own music career using his death as marketing. He never cared about Biggie. All he cared about was money and his ego. Another thing the documentary did a good job at was demonstrating how Diddy used and abused Cassie like everyone else. The documentary showed how Cassie was only 18 when she crossed paths with Diddy. He then used the power dynamic between employee and boss to take advantage of her and ended up turning Cassie into his literal pleasure slave. They showed Capricorn Clark retelling how Diddy went after Kid Cudi when he found out he was messing with Cassie. Clark recalled Diddy using her as bait to threaten to hurt her if Cassie wouldn't return to him. This shows how Cassie was trapped, and it wasn't as simple as just walking away to get away from Diddy. Diddy kept her captive against her will. She didn't really have a choice. And we saw confirmation of that with the hotel footage, as when she tried to get away, Diddy didn't let her. People like to disregard Cassie's story because they claim she wanted it, and she only went after Diddy because Diddy didn't love her anymore, didn't marry her, and she never became a star. They say that she chose to get with Diddy and stood with him after seeing what he really was about. So because of this, they don't see her as a victim. But in my opinion, Cassie, while not completely innocent, is still 100% a victim. Let me explain why. Cassie was only 18 when she met Diddy, very young and stupid, and Diddy started pursuing her the moment he saw her. She wanted to be a famous artist, and Diddy offered her that opportunity. In a sneaky way, he used his music industry power to get access to her and then took over her life. Yes, Cassie could have said no and walked away, but then she would have lost her opportunity to make it in the industry. Chances are, if Diddy dropped her, her career would be over and no one else would give her a shot. You gotta look at it like this. Imagine if your sister went to get a job and her boss told her that if she wanted that job, she had to let him do whatever he wanted to her. Your sister would likely say no because she knows there's other jobs out there that won't require her to do this. She doesn't need to compromise herself for this opportunity, she can just go get another job. But what happens when there are no other jobs? When this is the only opportunity and is either do this or starve? Now your sister is desperate enough that she might fold under that extreme pressure, allowing this man to do whatever he wants to her because she needs to work and she feels like she doesn't have a choice. Is either do it or go without eating. That's exactly how it goes in the music industry. A lot of these artists were desperate for a shot, especially in the 2000s, when it was much harder to get in the industry. If Diddy wants you to compromise yourself, you can reject him. But you have to expect that other labels are not going to give you a shot either. You have to expect that turning down his demands could mean the end of your career for good. Which, don't get me wrong, I do understand doesn't justify selling out and compromising yourself, but it does show why some of these artists willingly do it. Is either do what Diddy says or chances are, they're not going to get another opportunity. And think about it, Cassie was only 18, still a naive teenager, and Diddy used her dreams against her to take advantage of her, and turned her into exactly what he wanted. So yes, Cassie could have said no, but she was still very much a victim. The same way Kim Porter was a victim, and the same way Lil Rod was a victim too. Lil Rod, just like everyone who came in contact with Diddy, fell for the same trick. He saw working with Diddy as an opportunity to make his dreams come true, while Diddy saw him as another person he can use and abuse. In the documentary, Lil Rod describes how Diddy participated in violent crimes around him, injuring one man in a studio, then covering it all up. Lil Rod also talked about Diddy violating him by sedating him and possibly having his way with him. After putting up with all his demands, when he was done working with Diddy, he was still in the same spot he was when he started, and Diddy even refused to pay him. In the documentary, Lil Rod called Diddy a gatekeeper, something that if you have been following my channel, you know I've been saying since 2021. When exposing Diddy was seen as a crime by the masses, Diddy is definitely a gatekeeper, or at least he was. The same thing he did to Lil Rod, he did to just about every person that ended in his web. He used them and abused them and when he was done with them, he threw them away like trash. Everyone who participated in this documentary was afraid of Diddy. They all waited for Cassie to launch her attack and see how that went before they spoke up too. They all feared retaliation from Diddy. People say all these people deserve what happened to them because they chose to work for him. But ask yourself, what starving artist in the 2000s would turn down the opportunity to work with Diddy? The moment Diddy asked any artist, they would all say yes, not knowing they were entering a trap. Once they were in that trap, Diddy made it difficult for them to get out of it, only releasing them once he was done using them. The most interesting part of the documentary was watching Diddy manipulate people and the media, telling people they had to fix the problem he created for himself.
Get off the phone right now, and I am going to let you professionals look at the situation and come back to me with a solution. No matter what nobody said. Let's just here and there, y'all are not working together the right way. We're losing.
Or using the careers he gave his artists to convince them to make statements in his defense. Throughout the footage, you see how Diddy successfully manipulated the trial and the masses. The jurors, the fans, the masses bought into his manipulation because Diddy spent millions buying the media. This is why he was only convicted on lighter charges, allowing him to get back out in no time and do this to many others. If you think Diddy is gonna change, think again. Diddy had the power to be a good, honest leader, but instead, he fed off anyone who came in contact with him in order to build himself bigger and bigger, becoming the monster he is known as today. Diddy deserves life in prison. He deserves to spend the rest of his life behind bars. And if you saw this documentary and wasn't convinced of that, tell me why in the comments. As honestly, all this doc did was confirm everything I have been saying for 4 years now. I pray Diddy one day can see the error in his ways and truly surrender to God and ask for forgiveness. I also pray that all his victims find a way to heal and get the justice they feel they deserve. Well, I'm gonna end this one here. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.